I'm the director of the Marine Education and Training Center, and that's where Hōkūle'a has been dry docked and makes her new home. And as part of that, I volunteered to help with the rebuilding, rebirthing, if you will, of Hōkūle'a. The rebuilding, as most people know, took a lot longer than what we thought, but that was due to a lot of the repair and things that had to take place within the boat.
Okay, so like, how many hours have people been putting into this thing, and like, what was your direct involvement in Hōkūle'a?
I think we've had close to 16,000 volunteer hours into the boat, into the project. My involvement is that everybody else, for the most part, were volunteers. They really didn't have much experience in building boats or rebuilding boats. So I was here to try and aid them in learning how to rebuild the boat, learning what had to be done, and hopefully giving some skills to them.
So, like, Hōkūle'a is like a legend in the islands, and it's, you know, it's a very well-known vessel. What was it? What did you get the most out of Hōkūle'a? What was your, like, what did you get the most out of Hōkūle'a?
It was interesting, you know, I've built a lot of boats, I've repaired a lot of boats, but Hōkūle'a gave me a sense of community. And, you know, you hear a lot of the term community rebuilding Hōkūle'a. I think contrary to that is that Hōkūle'a brought a community together. And a lot of it had to do with the fact that we let all of our social mores go, right? I mean, you could be on the boat standing next to a PhD, next to an MD, next to a guy who just got out of Alcoholics Anonymous. But none of that stuff mattered because everybody was there in community to help with the rebuilding, rebirthing of Hōkūle'a. And I think that's going to carry over for this worldwide voyage, before that the statewide voyage, and I think Hōkūle'a brings together communities. Rather than communities helping Hōkūle'a, I think she goes past that. And I think that's manifested in the mana that Hōkūle'a has. It's crazy unbelievable. I built probably 200 boats in my career. None of them have had the spirituality that Hōkūle'a has had.
So Hōkūle'a has quite an impact on people's lives, like you know that I'm hearing you say. And like, what do you think was the biggest impact in your experience with Hōkūle'a? What was your personal, the biggest impact that you've seen come out of Hōkūle'a?
Boy, that's a tough one. I think that the idea that she's bigger than the sum of her parts, and by that I mean, yeah, she's wood, she's fiberglass, now she's got some foam. But Hōkūle'a is much, much more than that. Again, you know, it gets back to this whole community, it gets back to the whole spirituality thing. And for me, I think that's the biggest thing I got out of it. The fact that, yeah, we put some glue together, we threw some wood together, I mean, those are all important things, and Hōkūle'a is probably stronger than she's ever been. She'll go around the world, she won't have any problem. But beyond that, what I got out of it is the fact that she's actually a living thing, and not to be too anthropomorphic, but she truly is. We just had a discussion inside on the visions and what people felt of Hōkūle'a, and over again you heard people talking about, I put my hands on Hōkūle'a and I could feel Hōkūle'a, and as weird or trite as that might sound, it's true. It's true. She's much bigger than the sum of her parts.
Awesome. So like, you guys are planning to sail around the world, like, where's the journey going to start? What routes will you be taking around the world? Where will your stops be, and when will you guys be returning?
We're heading south and west from here until we get back to here. So that's the journey. From here we'll head south at this point in time, and it does change because a lot of it has to do with weather, and unfortunately a lot of it has to do with politics. What is going on in the world? Is it safe? And that's Nainoa Thompson's primary concern is always safety for the crew and for the boat. But right now we're leaving here. We'll go south, we'll go north of Australia, we'll go across the Indian Ocean, ending up at South Africa. We'll traverse the Atlantic, winding up probably in Venezuela, going up through the Caribbean, east coast of North America, back down. There's talk of us going over to the Mediterranean and doing the Med. Then coming back down again, going through the Panama Canal, going to Easter Island, Rapa Nui, and then spending a prolonged time in the South Pacific, going to Aotearoa, all the other South Pacific islands. So
awesome. Well, I get chicken.
Okay, maka. Mahalo ke akua, nao au makua, o kāne lono ku o kanaloa. Mahalo ke iara, o mahina o o kurani. Mahalo for this very special and sacred day that have gathered all of us in the family of the Moana and the Aina to come in honor of our Ba'akaudua, Hokulea, and all of the rest of the Ba'akaudua and the rest of the Ohana throughout our Wai'aina. Please open our eyes, our ears, our hearts, and our minds as we continue to fulfill and produce the results to put our Ba'a into the Moana. Please grant us answers to questions as they continue to come, and they may be through aloha, the wai, aina, the environment, the elements and nature, through our kupuna, our makua, especially our children, and our ohana. If we have offended anyone or done wrong, ye kalamai alu, we all human, we all make mistakes, and so we graciously ask forgiveness that we may be granted the mana, the knowledge and wisdom to undo this pilikia, right the wrong, we clean the kapulu, and perpetuate the spirit of this family of the Moana Baba Akaurua Hokulea to always be pono and in righteousness. Be with those on their way, those that will be leaving here today, and those that will continue to stay to Mālama. Please accept the sacred gift we have all brought, no matter how different the degree within this circle, that we may know, no matter how far we go or how long we stay, we always come back home. Keep us at the right place at the right time to always do the things that are pono that must be done. Mahalo o ke akua nao au makua, o kāne lonoku o kanaloa, amama uanoa.
Mahalo. This is very important for all of us. It's equally important for the people who have passed on, who have gave so much, and for those to come. Yeah, to be able, because we're going to do a bit of hope nobody gets too camera shy or gun shy about it, but it really is for the generations to come. And that's a big part of what this next voyage that has started years ago, and that we're right at the doorstep of, like, we're at the step of taking the next step, training, and then heading out for a couple of years. Okay, so quite simply, we want you to share your feelings about it. We want it to be pretty specific to the experience of the dry dock itself. Yeah, just so you know, maybe we can get emotional, we can wander off into some other realm or something, but keep it specific. And you don't have to say anything if you're that shy. Yeah, but we do want to hear. Yeah. Aloha and kokua to help get this living treasure out here back to sea. It's basically about that. Okay? So, why don't we start by getting comfortable, taking a seat and getting comfortable. A lot of us have really dedicated quite a lot of themselves, their time. And what I always think about is that that's family time. We have families at home, and we give up so much of that time. And I want to aloha the families, your special friends, and that have been really generous with their time and their patience and their understanding. I speak for many of us when I say we're really proud of what's taking place, and the canoe, and the how she's really being reborn, reconstructed, reborn, just really beautiful. And I think, you know, I get those remarks from everyone. We're really proud of her. We're also very appreciative to have the opportunity to be a part of this project, because from its inception simply as a vision that was put forward, even before the keel or anything was laid, it was like such a fascinating, captivating project. And nobody could quite imagine how far it would go. This canoe was built for one voyage, down to Tahiti and back. It's a 5,000-mile voyage. That's what she was built for. And just for everyone's basic knowledge, when she came home after the return voyage in 1976, she didn't have a home. It was like, all right, what do we do now? You know, and then so there was a group of those old timers, those original sailors, who just kept working at it and looking after her and making things happen. You know, one vision, one idea, one voyage at a time. You know, mile after sea mile and everything. So what we have out there today is truly an amazing. It's been an amazing adventure. So one of the things I wanted to convey that I want you all to really feel that pride, you know, of what's taking shape and what you guys have helped build and put out there. And really, you guys are going to hear in a lot of the stories and just the amazement of the canoe going back in the water. I mean, she's a living treasure. She's a cultural treasure. She's an ancient treasure from this very Pacific Ocean. And anyway, I just want everyone to really feel proud of everything that took place. Okay? So, and then the other thing was that, you know, we didn't just build a canoe. We truly built a larger community to move forward with this whole movement, the voyaging movement, yeah? So, she was built in 75 for voyage in 76. You know, here we are 37 years later, and she sailed more than over 140,000 miles. And that's well beyond the original vision of 5,000 miles. So, with that being said, and the expansion of canoes being built around the Pacific and in Hawaiian waters, it was really a vital part to build a community, a larger community. So that's been a real blessing.
Hello, Mike Kako. Hello. You know, before I get started, this is a day of reflection, and from my lens, there's a lot to think through. But before I get started, I do want to introduce two very important people in the room that come from far away that are here to participate and celebrate on the achievements of what's happened. We call it dry dock. I call it an historic cultural restoration. And Byron Malott is a Tlingit native. His wife, Tony, is Athabascan from Alaska. And he born in a village called Yakutat. Never graduated from college. Had to take care of his dad when he was sick. But he's got a gazillion kinds of honorary doctorates. He's on 5 major bank boards, and he's on Alaska Airlines, Nature Conservancy, you name it. He, at a young age, in his early 20s, negotiated with the federal government on the Alaska Native Lands Act and got millions of lands back to Native people that deserved it. And I guess the federal government didn't care. Gave away trash land until they needed to put a pipeline across it. Then he was the architect of that pipeline. You guys pay your fair rent of the land. What the revenues from other sources translated into the formation of corporations for Native people in Alaska. And the first corporation that was created was Sea Alaska. And Byron, at an early age of 31, became the CEO with no college degree. And it wasn't about the degrees. You don't define yourself by what school you go to. You define yourself by leadership. And, steadfast, cared for his people. Stood up when he needed to. Understood the power of vision, and he understood to be courageous when you had to. He's quiet, humble. When they needed to pay rent for the oil, the state was really smart by taking away 15% of the oil revenues that they made annual basis. The oil was going to run out. And they put it into a bank account called Permanent Fund. Byron was the CEO of that. My understanding, it took it from $5 billion in 5 years and went to $32 billion. Now they make more money on the investments of the oil than they do from the revenue of the oil. Smart. Received a phone call from Herb Kane in 1989. Because after our kind of exhaustive search for poetries and the depressive reality that there aren't any big enough and healthy enough to build a single canoe anymore, even though our ancestors probably they built 50 canoes in 200 years. That's 100,000 canoes, you know. And we can't build any. Byron didn't know Herb. Herb didn't know Byron. But my understanding of the story that his response was immediate. Give you the trees. Now remember, he's got shareholders that own those trees, that are a gift of the forest, and a gift of their children. The way they see it, they are, you go into those forests, it's powerful. When we came out of the coal forest, we were depressed. What we did in the last 100 years to fundamentally destroy 90% of what existed by our ancestors, safekeeping, it's depressive. So the journey with Byron, who gave us the 2 trees to build Hōkūle'a, is one of way more than just wood. It's about the larger family of Native people trying to find themselves, trying to be inspired and be strengthened. And to Bruce's point, having every child that is raised in this, brought into this world to feel proud of who they are. Because I remember pre-Hōkūle'a days when you weren't proud. And so when you ask about reflection, then I need to reflect on when there wasn't Hōkūle'a. And when my grandmother tells me stories about her uncle rubbing lye on the skin to get the brown off. That kind of stuff. Byron's been a teacher, been mentor. He's been the definition of leadership. He's an example of what can happen when a single man is visionary and courageous and focused and there every day, getting out of bed and doing what you got to do, standing up, which we believe in. And he's been immeasurably important to my family and to the larger family. He's here because it's an important time. This day is an important time of so-called reflection. So I just wanted to introduce him so you know who he is and to the fact that we honor him for making the trip. Both him and Tony. And I think Byron is the kind of example that what happens in voyaging when in the end, so much of what defines who we are by the kind of core sets of values that we fundamentally say that we believe in, those values were taught. So if you're going to reflect on what you have done, let me take you to a place that you weren't. None of you were there in this room. Other than Billy. None of you were there at Kuro. And we were there, put the canoes there, and we're trying to lash her. And so what they did was get a bunch of canoe paddlers to lash her, like a 6-man paddle canoe. So we had the rope, and we're kind of sticking around, and we're like, what do we do? Just put a couple half inches and a bone out and tie it and let it go. And then the mentality was, yeah, it's okay if it's loose, because then the canoe's just going to walk over the waves, and no problem, big problem. I mean, we were there. But we were there with, I think if you're going to reflect, then we should take a moment of time to think about if Hōkūle'a is the school, if it's the one that took us on a journey of transformation and journey of cultural restoration and a journey of pride. Children that are sitting in this room that speak Hawaiian language today weren't even born then. And I would argue that that flame that was lit, that tiny little flame of Hōkūle'a, comes from that faculty of extraordinary visionaries and courageous people. So I would just be reflective that today is about not just being proud of what we did, but to recognize, at least from my lens, and probably Billy's, that the Hōkūle'a and the Edi cows. And yeah, the greatest navigator on the earth, Mālama. And I think the greatest leader that I ever met, Pinky Thompson. That's what I reflect. And the question is, are they proud? Are they happy? Could today be the kind of expression of a moment in time when even them wouldn't even imagine that Hōkūle'a is sitting out there the way she is? And the list, you know, it goes on and on. It includes doctors, it includes teachers, it includes people that quit their jobs for the canoe, it includes an astronaut that said, go around the planet, you ought to see it. It's the only island in space that you can live on. You ought to understand it. You ought to be next to it, you ought to feel it, you ought to believe in the fact that you have kuleana. So in many ways what's reflective of today is when you take care of Hōkūle'a, that's your home. And we have different kuleana to different homes. And so what we can, if today is a reflection of an expression of what a community can do when it comes together, then the earth is something like the next canoe. If I'm to reflect on this, this issue about this dry dock and its connection to the Worldwide Voyage. So it would be about February 08, get back from Japan, leadership in Hawaii gets together, go around the world, decisions made. April 08, we start crew training to see so there's a whole bunch of strategic questions that were being asked as to whether, can you do it? Can you sail this canoe around the world safely? And, one is, do you have the leadership to do it? So we sailed, what, 30 months, training new captains, retraining old captains on an old canoe, a tired canoe. So we sailed about 16,000 nautical miles. We created 15,000 learning opportunities. Yeah, we answered that one fundamental question. Then the question was really in September 2010, and it was September 10th, 2010. 18 months ago when we pulled Hōkūle'a out of the water. And this is the time when many of you were there. And the fundamental premise was that if you're going to go around the world, your home got to be okay. You got to take care of your home. And how's Hōkūle'a doing? And then kind of these verbal policies are spoken about. No rot, no damage, got to be more structurally sound, more watertight, got to be more stable, got to be faster downwind, got to be lighter. These kinds of guidelines that are set that end up being mandated. No easy task, especially when you start pulling the canoe apart, and you were there. If there's going to be no rot and no damage, everything came off. So my reflection last night at the canoe, looking at her, and on one hand, it's kind of sad that we had to take everything off. So the only thing left is the skin of the canoe, but I think that I know that you had to go and make the shift, you had to go make the change. And now you think that, when I look at the canoe, that, wow. It was like Humpty Dumpty taking it apart, all broken. And tired. And worn down. And took care of us. Took care of us. Took care of us. So the whole notion of shifting to take care of her was a no-brainer. It's the obvious. But the question is, can you do it? Do you have the community capacity to make everything no rot, no damage from a canoe that was worked so hard? And, so when you ask me to reflect, that's been a scary journey for me, because we tore her apart. Just tore her apart. Then you raise the question, can you put it back together? Can you put it back together? And so the 18 months, it was scary. And there's enormous amounts of people you got to thank. But at the top of the list, you got to thank Bob Perkins. And you got to thank Bruce Mexico. I think this room that we sit in is reflective of the building that houses the kind of things. Hōkūle'a is an extraordinary life form. It's, and you know, I know because I was there. We found Rapa Nui. We didn't find Rapa Nui. We didn't even know it was there. We ran into it. Hōkūle'a found it. At the times when the things are the worst, at the times when the moments get to the point where you're about to give up, at the times when you think you can't do it, somehow there is the collection of things that come together. This could not be done without Marine Education Training Center. So you got to, this place to the canoe is more than a home. This place is sacred. And it could not be done without the expertise of Bob and people like Bob. No way. And I've watched the kind of orchestra of stuff, of thousands of pieces. And how many times do you think, in a reflection, did someone's hand stroke a piece of sandpaper? How many? How many think hands stroke a paintbrush? And, how many bits and pieces? I was like watching, going, no, don't do that. Don't go fit every single little piece of wood. It's going to take forever. But I don't know a damn thing, so I just shut up. Then in the end, Jason said there's 16,000 man-hours of volunteer time. I did the math on that. 16,000 man-hours divided by the amount of days in 18 months, it comes out to about 30 hours a day, every day, of volunteer time. 30 hours a day. But when I think about the 16,000 man-hours, I know a man that's too humble to even put his name down on the list. And when I kind of figured it out, he put in 1,600 man-hours by himself. That's 10%. And that's quite Canadian. Too humble to put his name on the paper. But I do know the guys are researching in Maine. The guys are working on a sail rig in Japan. I do know that the guys from Habilitat brought their strength and their money to the canoe. I do know that the design work in the back doors that weren't even here took 1,000 hours. I do know that a lot of people like Mike don't sign in. So maybe even if you would take, add another 30, 1/3, whatever. Now you're at, what, 24,000 man-hours. And that would be 40 hours a day of volunteer time. That's phenomenal. But I would say that even more powerful than the hours even more powerful than the time, even more powerful than even Bob and Bruce. I mean, I watched Bruce with no plan, by the way. Got it in his head and just, you do this, you do that. And when you step back, like last night, I looked at the canoe. And I'll say this because I know, and I say it humbly, because I was there. This canoe, I'm not saying it's more beautiful than Hōkūle'a before, because you can't say that. But I would say that she's more powerful. And talking to Bob, I get that same sense, but he kept telling me, I come out here every day, and this canoe is getting stronger. It's like it understands inherently, somehow, maybe ancestrally, it knows what it needs to do to get ready to do something like go 45,000 miles around the island. It knows what it needs to do. And, I think what's probably most important in terms of the reflection would be that you, this room, if you can accomplish what you did in taking a worn down voyaging canoe, empower her with grace and beauty, for leadership to step up and say there's going to be nothing short of excellence, and that there'll be nothing that we'll do that'll be kapulu, there'll be nothing that we would do that'll be forgotten, that everything is going to be done with preciseness, and everything's going to be done with great care. Nobody got hurt, except for like who up there. Yeah. We won't talk about that. And then so, when I look at both the past of the Herbs and the Miles and the Eddies, but when I look at arrival in Kualoa on June 2016, that the reflection of what it takes to do the whole voyage is all about people. It's all about people coming together at these very important moments in time to do something that you can't do. The ability to be here today to reflect on the beauty of the canoe would be something, if you asked the community 10 years ago, can you do that? I don't think they would try. So I don't understand it, that you would have 18 months, 24,000 volunteer hours. I've never heard a loud argument here. I've never saw anybody act in a distasteful, mean way to anybody else. And what's to me that is so extraordinary is what you would, the chemistry and the definition of you. This family of the canoe that came here when lives in Hawaii are more stressed now economically and everything else than ever. Nobody's got time for 24,000 man-hours. And what's the beauty of this community is that its reflection is about what we can accomplish. Its reflection allows us to go to the next step, go to sea. Knowing that you have the power of the community to do things you can't do, because I saw it happen. I don't know if we could do the Worldwide Voyage. I don't know if we could step into the belief that we're going to take 30 teams, 300 people, go around the world in some of the most dangerous places on the planet. I don't think we could do it without the belief that we had the family to do it. So what's most important to me is what you give, at least from my lens. You give beauty, you give power, you give confidence, you give a sense of truth. And it all ends up with one thing, the value of caring, the canoe, each other, yourself. So I would ask you to reflect to me, not to me, but to yourself. Maybe why you're here, why'd you take the time? And what does it mean when the canoe touches the water? because what you gave her is more than 40 years. You gave us the home to be safe to go on the earth, but you also gave us beliefs. You gave us dreams. If you want to reflect on something, imagine if Hōkūle'a was sitting out there in the tent the way that she came out of the water in September 2010. If nobody showed up, imagine. How would you feel? They kind of told me not to talk to Laurie, but don't ask. Because if you ask me to talk, I'll tell you how I feel. I think the family of the canoe is more strong than it's ever been. The power is the diversity of this room. What I love about the canoe today, there are people like Bruce and Bob and others. Anybody who want to come, put your hand in on a carrying wave. You are invited. So what we're trying to accomplish on the Worldwide Voyage, about bringing diversity together around the largest society to make sure that every child that's born in Hawaii is going to be proud of who they are by knowing where they come from. Every child in Hawaii is going to be cared for. Every child in Hawaii is going to have dreams that they can believe in. Every child in Hawaii is going to know things can be extraordinary, that it comes from this reflection. Again, of all you've done to set the stage for us to go sail. And given us the strength to believe that we can do it. And I don't know how you measure that, but know that it probably counts way more than you can imagine. So aloha to you all.
Happiness, and I just saw that, you know, the people that came here to work on Hōkūle'a was living up to Hōkūle'a's name. I saw gladness. I sit in this room now and I feel the gladness. And I'm glad to be a part of this. So it's an honor, nothing short of an honor, to even look at her, you know, from growing up to hearing about it and being here and seeing it. It's a great experience. You're talking about how, and I know I was talking about how you know, it's Hōkūle'a, you know, was built from the earth and put into our hands and being put in the ocean. And it's amazing to think about it. As I was sitting here and listening to that, I was thinking about how she's guided by the heavens, you know, and I just thought about all the elements coming together, you know, the earth, the sea, and the heavens coming into one and being guided by hearts, you know, by dreams, by visions. It's quite amazing, you know. It's an awesome experience. My name is Merle. Thank you.
Being a part of this has changed me, and I really want to thank everybody that has done so much more work than I have. I mean, and everybody that was down here every day, and that was inspiring to me very much. So I appreciate you enabling all of us to move forward from this place and take the next step in the voyage of discovery in the future and the global implications. And thank you very much.
Please let me stay, and I will Mālama the land and the people here the best I can. And they were like, Uncle Maka on a bad day, giving me schooling, like, why should we do that for you? And it was because I said, I have nowhere else to go. And so they said, okay, but we're watching you, don't mess up. And I first heard about Hōkūle'a at that time, and I felt like
I have no chance, I have no reason, I have no standing that I could be there on that canoe. And so I did my time, put in what I could to this place, to this land, and then finally it opened up. I tried actually a few different ways, a few different times, you know, if it's possible. And then one day I got this email from Ben, the chief medical officer, saying, "You are now involved." And when I first came here to this room and I saw Bruce's face, he was so welcoming. And I heard him say, you know, a lot of people ask who can come, who's allowed to come here, who can work, who can sail. You just have to make Hawaii your home and be serious about the revival of Hawaiian culture. And I can say I'm there for those two things. And coming to dry dock, you know, having my hands on the hull, on the sheets, on the canoe. Even though my eyes don't like all the dust and all the smell, it's unspeakable, it's unbelievable, the chance to touch her, and then to be with the community. Sometimes, you know, we're so busy, we live on the other end of the island, Keiki has so much homework, but always we want to go, we want to come, we always make the time. And sometimes there's not even anything really to do. We leave like we didn't really do something that made a difference mechanically. But it's like sailing. Sometimes you just ride it. And the feeling is like we're already on the Worldwide Voyage. We left a long time ago on the Worldwide Voyage. And now we're just getting the canoe ready to go on the water. But every time we came to dry dock, and sometimes we look at each other, we didn't do that much, maybe we did a little bit of sanding, you know, and it took us through the traffic, we gotta go back, he's gotta stay up late for homework. I've been up since 4 in the morning, but we always felt so nourished, we always felt like, hey, was it great just to go there and be with our ohana, and do what we can, and be near the canoe. And there was dark nights. You could feel sometimes. I look at Bruce and how can he keep going? I know he's working. I know he has his family. How can he keep going? And when we're so far from the water and it's in the middle and it's all apart and it's already 6-9 months and it's not get back together, I'm like, how can we get there? Are we going to have enough energy? Are we going to be able to? But slowly, it's like the spring came and it comes back together finally. The deck is on. And the feeling now, you know, that, oh, we're going to put in the water next week. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. I feel so happy. Thank you.
There's different goals along the way, and some are more grand than others, but I don't think it's ever going to be good enough, and it's going to just keep progressing and moving and changing and evolving and accomplishing amazing things. And I'm just so grateful to be part of that, what's happening in whatever small way. Thank you.
I'm Chad. I've had the opportunity to make a little bit of part of that boat smoother over the past 8 months. I played a very small part in this, but it's amazing to listen to the amount of time that's been put into the creation of this boat. I mean, listening to kind of the history of it, I've learned a little bit more about it over the past 8 months. And how it's been rebuilt and how many miles it's sailed and the amount of effort that's been put behind all this. It's kind of astonishing, you know what I mean? Because when you really think about the passion that has to go behind making something like this happen, people have lives to live, and to put this on the side and do this, put aside your own time and effort to make something like this happen. That's dedication, that's passion right there. That's desire. Like that's the definition of desire, to make something like this happen and to continue to have it continue to keep going, because that's the goal of this, is in 2016 to do it again and to have the next generation do it and have someone else put the amount of effort into it. And that drives me to want to do better. And it's kind of hard to describe like how I feel towards this, because like I said, I played such a small part. I just came and volunteered time. I've had the opportunity to do it. Like seeing the look on your face when you were explaining this, like it humbled me a lot, knowing that you see the results. Like yesterday you said you stepped back and you actually saw the results of what you've actually put into this and what the people have put into this, you know, willingly, because you ask yourself, are you going to be able to do this? 10 years ago, would you be able to see yourself doing this? And even in 2010 when it came out of the water, like, wow, we got to take it down, we got to refurbish this thing. And it's like, here it is now, you know, it's done, it's on its way. And it's like I'm grateful to play a part in that. I really am. You know what I mean? Even if it is a small part, and to see how much it means to a culture of people is pretty astonishing, like I said. And I'm happy I got to play a part in it. I think all of us are. As residents of Habilitat, like I said, it's pretty cool that you guys let us come down here, like you said, and volunteer our time, because this is like massive. This is a part of history. And I don't know, man, like listening to you, the amount of passion and desire like that means a lot. Those two words mean a lot to me. And putting effort towards something that means that much to you, like I'm happy for you. It makes me happy. Like that's awesome. Like it really is, and I wish you luck. And I'll always remember this. I really will.
I don't know. I appreciate it. I appreciate Bruce and everyone, you know, allowing us to come down there, you know, get off facility, come down here and, you know, help out and do something positive, you know. And like you said, it's a part of history, man. Not too many people, I know where I'm from, Illinois, not too many people even know the Hokulea, but will ever be able to say that they were a part of it, you know, and help build it in any small way, whether it's just sanding a piece of the wood on there or, you know, lashing. I got to learn about that. So there's some things in here that I'm going to be able to carry with me, share with my family throughout, you know, and I appreciate it. So I get a lot of appreciation from this whole experience. That's what I get.
Well, my name is Hōkūle'a. When the canoe was being built in '75, my friend and I used to jump back off at the canoe. We were close. He asked us, hey, come help us with the canoe. I looked at my friend, oh, you can surf? Went surf. And I forgot about that till he reminded me a few years ago. Yeah. 77 was my first time I got on Hōkūle'a. Sail. It was trippy. I never let go since. That's what it does to you. Yeah, it just, you know, grab you. I see a lot of faces over here. Faces. I'm really bad at names. Bruce Simmons, yeah, because she made this good prune weight. No, Chicago, yeah. Chicago, so, yeah, it becomes real tight when you get involved with Hōkūle'a in a lot of ways. More than you know, further down at the end. You're going to realize that.
I've been doing some reflecting recently, probably because I'm really tired. But, you know, there's been a lot of talk of how the community has rebuilt Hōkūle'a. And that's very much true. However, Hōkūle'a has given to the community. I keep thinking about the saying, doctor, lawyer, and Indian chief. As corny and as trite as that sounds, here we are. We have doctors, we have lawyers, we probably have an Indian chief or two here, I'm sure. But we leave that aside, and we come down here, And as people have said, we pick up sandpaper, we sand, we pick up saws, we saw. We do anything that's asked of us. For close to, what did Nainoa say? Thousands and thousands of hours. Been building boats about 30, 35 years now. So this really isn't too new to me. A lot of the things that we've had to do on Hōkūle'a is new to me, but rebuilding is not new to me. What is new to me is that the further and further along that Hōkūle'a gets to her rebirth, I like to call her, the more spiritual I feel coming out of Hōkūle'a. The stronger that she becomes. And I haven't felt that in most all of the boats I've built. And carrying that forward, when we do start voyaging, Hōkūle'a brings together a community. And I'm sure that the same thing is going to happen as we go around the world. That Hōkūle'a will bring community to her and to the world. And so again, one island, one world, I think that's so true. And I think that we have one of the best vessels, if not the only vessel, that can take us and do that for us. Thank you.
My name's Brenda. When I started classes here a year and a half ago, I'd never heard of Hōkūle'a. And 3 weeks afterwards, I heard we were going to drag Hōkūle'a back. I'm like, okay, well, let's go drag a canoe. Cool. And I didn't know anything about it. I didn't know anything about PBS. And at first, it was sort of like my surgeon side, like, oh, wow, we're taking it apart. Let's see what's in here, and let's see how we're going to fix it. That part's cool. But then the more I learned about what we were doing, I also heard the stories from all the people and all of Nainoa's stories. And I just learned more and more and became more interested in the voyage and the reason why it existed in the first place than the actual boat. And I put in a lot of time, and I can't wait to go sail.
So this part is this is called a vai, and it's attached to the bulkhead, which goes to the bottom of the canoe. This is called the yako. It's a crossbeam that attaches the canoes together. So these main lashings here, this is what connects the yako to the vai. Then you have to pull these real tight, so we call this frapping, where it takes all the slackness out of the line to where this feels like wood. This feels solid. You know, you can. One, two. All good job, guys.
My name is Merrill again, and here we have
Kaina, Holomalia.
Awesome. So, Kaina, how old are you?
26.
26. Are you a captain?
Yeah. Captain in training. For me, it's kind of hard to call myself a captain just because of the guys that's been before me as captains. Yeah.
Awesome.
So I would say captain in training. Yeah.
You know, I heard you say when you were talking in the meeting over there. I heard you talking about how Hōkūle'a changed your life and how it touched you and you know it moved you so much that it became your life now.
Yeah.
I think that's an awesome inspiration for people out there, especially the Hawaiian community. You know, we got a lot of people out there who need the inspiration for something to touch their life and grab them. Like, what was the biggest impact that Hōkūle'a had on you that really just grabbed you and made you hold on?
Well, with Hōkūle'a, for me, my first voyage to Japan was something that meant a lot to me. But what actually started or planted the seed in me was another canoe called Eala. Eala is a smaller canoe, 45 feet, that was housed out in Waianae. And back in '98, they had a high school program that would train on board Eala throughout the whole year, learning algebra, learning math, science, everything they were learning in the classroom, but using the canoe. And at the end of the year, for graduation, they'd have to take Eala around from Pokaibe all around to Hakipu where Hōkūle'a was launched. And that was graduation. But they would have to do them without their teachers. So take the canoe by themselves without the teachers around to Hakipu. My oldest brother, Lakea, was on board that canoe. He was the first graduating class off of Eala. And for me, that's what started the seed. I was 9 years old, standing on the sands in Hakipu, and you look on the sand and you see pretty much the whole Waianae coast came down for see this happen, this graduation happen. And for me at that age, looking out and seeing my brother was on the front, ready with the anchor line. So he was standing on the front mano as the canoe was coming in, dropping anchor, and standing on the sand, looking up to your older brother, what he was doing. Then looking back at the amount of people that came down, drove all the way from Waianae, all the way down to Hakipu for this special occasion, and I wanted to know what was that magic, what did these canoes have. So before Hoku was Eala, but Hoku has taught me a lot so that I could take care of Eala. I dropped out of high school, 9th grade, from Waianae, but I was going on to Hōkūle'a High School. I dropped out 9th grade just because, because what they was teaching as far as history wasn't really my history. I mean, give you a book about George Washington and all these guys, that wasn't my history. And just their style of teaching, give you one book today, go home, read them, expect you to come back and know them, wasn't my style. So I never really like that, but I love the ocean a lot, like, because my grandfather and our family, and then seeing my brother on the canoe, I really love the ocean. But when I dropped out of 9th grade, I never give up on learning. I still wanted to learn, so I went more hands-on with my uncles, learning how to drive truck in the trucking business for like 1 year. I was with them, then going to work at big dry docks like Marisco, PSI. At 18, I was working at Marisco and wanted to learn boat building and just being on the ocean and making it a life. Then with Hōkūle'a, I was lucky. My junior and senior year, Nainoa Thompson opened up an ocean learning academy that was based off of Hōkūle'a, and it was a charter school. We would meet throughout the week. Down Restaurant Row. Before that, we was in Diamond Head, but every Thursdays and Fridays we would go and sleep over either at Nainoa's house or on the canoe or at maybe Coconut Island learning navigation. And that was my style of learning, and without knowing, I was learning algebra. Like, he would tell me, bruh, we're going this fast, the wind is blowing this fast, how long would the canoe travels this far, how long would it take us to get to that spot? Me, I just like know how long it would take us to get there, because once we get there, you know, it's good fun. But not knowing, oh, bro, I just did an algebra problem. Nice. And it's not a new style of teaching or learning. It was always there. We just got to bring them back out into this new education. So that's where I'm at right now. Not just with Hōkūle'a. Me and the Waianae Civic Club and another captain, Kamu Kapoe, right now is getting Eala back into the school system. Back in 2001, she was taken out of the water for dry dock. She came out, got refurbished, but while she was in dry dock, they had a lot of politic stuff that went on with insurance and losing the slip at the harbor. She never had someplace safe for her. So she ended up sitting on land for almost 7 years. Wow. And she was sitting at a workshop called Friends of Hawaii Law and Hōkūle'a, and that's where like a lot of my learning happened. Because once I got over Hoku, learning over here, that small dry dock that I did with Russell teaching. Russell, after dry dock was done, he was working building canoes, and he asked, oh, but you like be on help or just the kind learn? So I was like, oh yeah. So I would go and learn from them. But every time I would walk past Eala, sitting on blocks, ready for going in the water, but just sitting, And inside of me, I felt hurt. I heard this canoe crying out, help me, but I never have the knowledge for fix her. I never know what to do. So I wanted to learn as much as I can from all kinds of different people. And then eventually through another dry dock that Hōkūle'a had, I was able to talk to the director of HCC, the Marine Education Training Center, Bob Perkins, and so from working dry dock every day, talking story with them during lunch, he's like, "Bro, you know what? You should come to school." I was like, I wasn't really one for sitting in classrooms, and he was like, "Oh, perfect, because our program is based mostly outside in the shop, learning off of boats and how to build boats and everything." And then I told him, "Oh, I know more of the high school credits and all this kind," but he noticed that I was doing good work, and he's like, "Bro, you know what? You do a lot of good work around here, and I see what you do, but you should get the diploma, because one day one job might come up that would be for you." But since when another guy come in, he get the paper that shows he's certified glass man, he can fiberglass do whatever, but never step foot on the canoe, he can get the job because he get the paper that says he's certified. So once he told me that, I looked at it differently. Okay, so I went to school, to the Marine. It's a 2-year program, and I was lucky enough that I got to learn from the older guys first, hands-on, working on core canoes and stuff like that. So when I came into school, that helped me out a lot. And then trying to bring what they taught me and what I'm learning now, find a way to bring them together without stepping on anybody's feet. You know what I mean? You know, like change the canoe so much that it becomes a catamaran or a boat. Right. No, that's not what we like. So that's why when I went to school, and like right when I graduated, like a month later, Hoku was coming up for dry dock. Then asked me if I wanted to take on a couple of the building, doing the fiberglass, but would be like on job on the contract, so I would have to get my own contractor's license and everything, and go about the whole thing of paying my own taxes and insurance, whatever. And I was like, oh shoot. I mean, the answer never come that fast, but I was like, okay. I think if anything, I know I've seen what the canoe went through. I've seen what she does out in the ocean. And then I know what we get now, modern days technology with different fiberglass and foam that we could replace in different places of the canoe to make them stronger and better. And trying to do that. And with this dry dock, I was able to do that. I mean, trying to bring the old back with the new. So trying to keep Ayala's identity, without changing her too much, but making sure she's gonna last a lot longer. But like I say, it's all through my teachers, but that's pretty much where it started, man. With Ayala, where we're back about 2 years ago, this captain from Waianae, Sam Kapoe, he's 1 year younger than me. He was the last class that took Ayala out of the water for dry dock and work on her. Then he graduated, went off to college, went off to film school, production school, and came back. But when he came back, he heard that I was trying to get her going. But me, I know how to fix a canoe, how to do, but I don't know nothing with paperwork or like political stuff. And that's where he knew. That's where he knew the business side of it. And that's where we'd sit down and talk. So I was like, bruh, and we just had that connection, like what this canoes do to us. Like we've had that connection, and ever since then, me and him, we actually, when we took the canoes back, the thing is the community never knew about her. People stopped talking about her. The kids never know about her. We went talk at schools, and we told them about this program that once was in Waianae High School, and kids was like, oh my God, I wish they had that program now. I would come to school early for that program. And you know what I mean? School based at the beach. I mean, you're on the water, that's doing what they love and learning and the values that you learn on board, yeah. So with me and him, we took on caravan of canoes back down to Waianae. We took Hōkūle'a, Kama'uheheu, and Ayala went down the same time for take Ayala take her back home, and that was her first time in 7 years coming back home. But when we did that, we wanted to make a big statement, so we trained some juniors and seniors from Waianae High School, from Kamaili and Nanakuli, which are all leeward schools, yeah. So they trained with us for about like 6 months training, and sailed Eala back. So I captained Hokulea, Sam Kapoe captained Eala, and Waimea McKay captained Kama. And all of us as 3 captains from the west side taking the canoes back. And like with me, I had on rough road, drop out 9th grade. Same thing with our captain Waimea. I mean, just he always got into trouble in school and stuff. The teachers would kick him out of class and whatnot. And like my teachers, when I was in school, they told me I wouldn't be. I mean, I was a rotting kid, and they was like, you ain't never be nothing. But came a time before we took the canoes down that the school, the principal and asked if we could come and talk to the students. And one of the classes, before I walked into the class, I seen one of the teachers, the main teacher, why I dropped out of school. And I came walking in up to the party, and she said, "Oh, what are you doing here?" And I, "Oh, I just came for check them out." And she's like, "Oh, well," she actually told me, "Oh, you're still alive?" I was like, "Yeah." Then she was bringing in her class, and she's like, "Oh yeah, we got a guest speaker coming in today," and she never knew it was me. She was sitting down on the side with her class and had like 3 different classes in there. Okay, guest speaker come to the stage, and I walk up and her face would drop, and she look at me like, what? For real? No way. And for me, it was unreal uplifting time for me. I mean, one of the main teachers why I never go to school and all that. Now, she's sitting at her desk looking up at me, and I'm like, but that's what these canoes do. We had teachers sailing with us, and they would actually become on the same level with the students. They would become a crew member before they'd be a teacher on regular student. And it was neat to actually see teachers learning from their students and students teaching the teachers some stuff. So after we seen that, we knew we had to get Eala back, because Waianae needed her, the island needed her. I mean, the state changed the education because it's not working out. So after we took the canoe down, we had a lot of guys that came down and seen the movement that we was doing, and we had a lot of help from like Miley Shimabukuro. She's a senator now from the west side. She heard the movement that we wanted to do with education, and she was like, okay, I'll help you guys out. And then one of our good friends, Uncle William Aila, who was at the time was a harbor master where Eala was housed, and we was talking to him about bringing her back, and he's okay, yeah, we'll get ready for bring her back. And just so happened, a couple weeks later, he got voted into chairman for DLNR. So he's like, okay, boys, things looking good. And I said, Uncle, how can we get one school built? Not just one canoe club. We don't like one after-school program. We like one education program, an education center based off of the values of the canoe, and goes from learning how to sail, then to like an apprenticeship program, learning how to build paddles, stand-up paddle boards, small little canoes, fiberglass work. Then going to a bigger apprenticeship with building maybe a 45-foot canoe, with using modern technologies, but still yet having the kids apprentice or doing documentary on one traditional carver that carved quail canoes, or go do a documentary on one quail canoe and figure out why it was shaped like that, and then take them to the next level as far as taking that design, putting them on a computer, then blasting out on one mold on piece of foam that you can make multiple canoes off of this one quail canoe. So taking it into the next level, but still remembering where you're from. So from there, we're thinking of captain's program, so you can get your captain's license, into a job, so you can provide food, provide money for your family, pay the rent, and all that. So we've been talking to like Sauce Brothers, Young Brothers, and at one time, and there still is the Waianae Maritime Academy. Ako Kaipo Pomaikai, who was one of my teachers, I took that program for 2 months, and from there, just try and get people's jobs in the industry, because we love the ocean down there. And if you're gonna be at the beach all day, might as well get paid for it. Well, I mean, you get bills for pay, you gotta support your family. So that's the direction we're heading with that. And like, even beyond the Waianae Maritime Academy, with Uncle Kaipo, he has direct connections to like captain schools up in Oregon, Washington, and all these big places where people can go and just, sky's the limits from there. But at least we give the kids not a positive option out there for the kind. Because being from the west side, I mean, there's not too much positive options, out there. So, and the whole reason is I know there's a kid like me out there. So that's why I stay around the canoe, make sure she's good, because I know out there there's a kid searching for a family, you know, feel the love at home. So for me, that's what I felt with Hōkūle'a. And with Eala too, when she was in Waianae, the teacher that used to run the program would stop by Hōkūle'a every morning before she went to school, because she knew she would find one of her students sleeping on the canoe that either got kicked out in the middle of the night by their own family, had family issues, whatever, just ran away from home and swam out to the canoe and slept on the canoe in the middle of Pokai Bay. So she would stop by the beach every day, beep her horn, and sometimes 3 kids would pop up on the canoe. So everybody had, but for us, that was our safe. That's where we felt safe, and that's where we felt trust, we felt family, love. And some people, they know more of that at home, so that's what Hōkūle'a has done for us, and just trying to pass it on to the next generation. I mean, you cannot give them your heart, but you can give them the knowledge to go out there and find out for themselves what it is. Nice. So that's the direction I'm headed in now. And like with Hōkūle'a going around the road, I wish I could stay on her the whole voyage, but we know we no can, because we gotta take care of school over here and fly back and forth. But hopefully in the future, before Hōkūle'a even finishes the Worldwide Voyage, we have crew members on our side, young enough, experienced enough, that can go meet the canoe and try to jump on one leg. And I mean, give these kids a chance for travel, for see different parts of the, just see the world. So that's where we're going now. And right now with the education center in Waianae, it's looking pretty good for us. We talked to the senators and all the different boards. Next month we'll be going to the homestead board and talking to all these guys. We got a whole full land proposal, business proposal, how we're gonna run the education system and whatnot. And even with doing those things, the paperwork, we never know how to do them. But had an uncle that came on and he's like, bruh, I do this thing for a living, you know what, because I back you guys up on this, and you know what, give me all you guys information, I'll write it out for you guys and make it look good. So if we had to pay him for what he did for us, we'll come up to almost $5 grand with the amount of paperwork, permitting and everything. And he never charged us 1 cent. It was just straight out of heart. He's like, bruh, what you guys doing is something needed here on the west side. And just sky's the limits with education. You can take it as far as you want. And nobody figured out a way to live on forever. But like what Papa Mao told us was, you never want master until you die, and what you've taught carries on from what you taught. Until then, you're always learning. You're always a student in this whole life, or you always get room for teach, for learn, or whatever. So like, with sailing, there's no retirement. It's a lifestyle.
Awesome.
And hopefully I can share that with everybody else and give them the chance for jump on board the canoe and feel the same thing, because we all get our stories how we got here, but
I think what's the important thing is what we leave behind, like you said. You know, that was really awesome. Kaina, I want to thank you for your time. I think you're a very big inspiration to people out there. I'm sure somebody out there will hear this message, and hopefully, you know, they'll come around and you know, look up to you as a role model that you really are, because, you know, we need people like you in the communities. You know, we need people reaching out to the kids out there, because that's what it's about. Like you said, you know, reaching out to the generations after us, and leaving behind. And I wish you luck on your journey. Thank you very much for your time, brother.
Thank you, guys.
Aloha, brother.